Hello, everyone. This is Bentley, and I kind of want to tell a story. I know that this is the week before U.S. Thanksgiving, but my videos usually come up afterward, and there's a theme that will matter here, which is some thanks. I have nearly given up on this hobby multiple times. I've had that, should I just quit? Or that feeling of, I can't get this right. A lot of us have had that kind of feeling where you're frustrated, you want to pull your hair out, you want to give up. The very first time was with my Fluval Flex that you normally see behind me in my live streams. I just determined I wanted to get back into the hobby. I'd set up this tank. I spent a bunch of money on all sorts of things, and all of my plants died. I was nowhere near the plant person I am now. And I was frustrated. So I bought more plants, and all of those died. And I bought more plants, and almost all of those died. And I started thinking to myself, maybe I'm not cut out to grow plants in an aquarium. I've never been good at keeping plants in my garden alive. I'd lived in this house for a while, and anything that I tried to plant because I wanted to have those things there, and it wasn't the stuff that was established at my house when I bought it, never had any success. Ever. The only things that grew were weeds. And I remember I went in and I finally went into a fish store. I actually went to the Aquarium Co-op, of all places. It was back when Corey was actually working in the store every once in a while. And Corey happened to be in that day, and I said, I need a plant that is bulletproof. I need something that's idiot-proof, so that I can get something to make me feel better about this, so I can get myself on the right track. The prescription for that was Pogostemon stellatus octopus. And I think within 6 months, I was at 4 or 5 tanks, and I had Pogostemon octopus in every single one of them. Because I just propagated so fast. I was bringing in extras back to the store, and they were selling it in little grab bags. I was getting, a negligible amount of store credit, but it was just like, here, I have so much, please, And back then they weren't bringing in as much as they used to, so they would sell out every once in a while, and they would welcome me bringing some of that stuff in. But I also lost a lot of fish. I have a horrible track record with a couple of different things. I'm not very good with shrimp, and I've never been very good with tetras, especially neons and cardinals. Those are the ones that I always struggle with. I've had better success with some of the other tetras, some of the bigger tetras than those, but man, I bought a bunch of cardinal tetras. I wanted to just that planet tank with cardinal tetras, that thing that we see on all the aquascaping channels all the time, right? And I'm just like, I want to do that, just not as pretty because I'm not that good, right? And I couldn't keep them going. I would just slowly lose one, and then lose one, and then lose one. I try medicine. I would try all sorts of things. I would do more water changes. I would do this. I would do that. And I never at first figured out what was going wrong. And that was one of the other things, because at that time I was struggling with plants too, and I was telling myself, well, because the plants are dying, maybe that's causing the problem. I need to get the plants right first, and then I won't have trouble, and I'd get a few more fish to replace a couple of ones I lost and lose some more. And it was this cycle that was honestly quite painful. It was very hard to go through that. And so I would tell myself, I just need a bigger water system. The water system's too small. That's my problem. So I set up my big tank, the tank that's now the retirement tank. And I had a lot of success in that for a while. As I got more ambitious, I finally felt like, no, I'm finally figuring this fish thing out. I had my worst fish room day ever. I'll put that video up in the corner when I lost my zebra pleco colony. I had acquired some plecos and had them for a little while, and they were old enough at the time when I was doing some stuff, and I got some good advice, but I combined too many things and did some wrong moves. And I remember I was coming in to, I always fed the plecos at night. I would wait for all the lights to go out, and then I would come in and feed them their frozen bloodworms or Daphnia or baby brine shrimp, whatever I was feeding for the night. Those fish ate very, very well. And I noticed that a female was sitting out, just out completely in the open on the sand, and mine had always been very shy. The second they would see me, they would run. And I thought it was really weird. I was like, oh, maybe she's just not paying enough attention, doesn't see me. And so I got all the way up to the tank, and I'm going to put food in, and she still hasn't moved. And by that time, she would have always moved. So I put my hand down along the side of the tank. If this was the glass, I put it right here. She was in this back corner in my little 29-gallon acrylic, and she didn't move an inch. And that's when I realized something really bad had to be happening. Then I realized, so I grabbed the net. I thought, oh, I'll put something near her. And that'll scare her. Maybe then she's just not paying attention or something. And the second I went in and I just barely tapped very gently her tail, and she didn't move an inch. And that's when panic sets in. And I started going through the tank quickly, and all but 2 of my zebra pleco colony is dead. I moved them quickly to a different tank, trying to, thinking that the water parameters had to be off so bad that I must have poisoned them somehow. I'll put them in a tank that is very stable, where my angelfish are, where we had freshwater sponges growing, so the water quality has to be pretty decent. And by the next morning, they were both gone. And it wasn't the cost. I mean, they're expensive fish, don't get me wrong. To replace them will, nowadays is literally thousands of dollars. I had a colony of 10 fish, and a couple juveniles, but mostly adults. I had 8 adult zebra plecos, and in having looked at them afterward, I know for certain I had at least 2 females and several males. So I could have had breeding zebra plecos, and it crushed me. I mean, you can hear it in my voice, and I still think back on it every once in a while when something goes wrong, because no matter who you are, you're going to have something go wrong. This is a complicated hobby. It is full of science and full of things, and when you get complacent, you get too busy at work, whatever it may be, things can go wrong very, very quickly. And that's freshwater, where it's nowhere near as frightening as saltwater, where saltwater is like, I like to joke with some of my friends, I'm not quite ready to set thousands of dollars on fire just to start, because I can think back to when I started freshwater and go, oh yeah, I lost $100 worth of plants or $200 worth of plants and probably $100 worth of fish, maybe more. That was back when prices were way cheaper, 6 years ago. And I think about what I went through in freshwater, and I don't know that I could handle it in saltwater. So that's one of my biggest excuses why I don't get into saltwater. But when I lost those plecos, I mean, I did that video, I was just broken. For a few days, I was broken. Because I wasn't precisely sure what I had done wrong. I worked so diligently trying to change water. I was draining water as fast as I could while I was trying to get things out and trying to clean up and anything I could think of. And it was just pulling out more and more bodies of fish. And not like there's hundreds in there, but just each one is so precious. It's hard to get a big colony of zebra plecos without spending a lot of money. And I spent a good amount of money buying that colony in the first place. So it hurt more and more because they had become something I was so excited about the chance to maybe breed them. And not because I necessarily was like the dollar signs of breeding zebra plecos. It was, I really want to see baby zebra plecos. I want to know that I can get that same magical feeling that I've had with rainbow fish when I've bred them in the past with zebra plecos, with this fish that I find extremely appealing. I've thought they were beautiful even back when I was a kid, when you would find them every once in a while coming into our local fish stores here. And when I could see them, they were always something I would look at bless my parents knowing, like, I don't think we're quite ready for that one yet there, kiddo. But it was so hard losing that. But I persevered. Folks like you watching right now poured out their heart. The comments from this community were so wonderful and so positive that it was hard not to want to keep going on. You know, I had found success with plants and relative success with rainbow fish, of a fish that I love dearly, and I had my guppy mansion, which I chased that fish for so long, and when I finally found them, it was one of the most rewarding experiences, just sitting down and talking with a fellow fish nerd who, these were her babies. And she was still making a decision whether or not I was worth it to be the steward of those babies. I can remember when I lost the zebra plecos, I sat in my fish room down that way, staring at that empty tank. And I was thinking, I don't know if I want to keep going through this. I don't know if I want this to happen again. Because inevitably something goes wrong. What if you get a power outage that goes for too long? I remember I looked at my angelfish and I looked at my rainbow tanks, and I turned around and I looked at the guppy mansion for a while, and all these beautiful plants, these beautiful little blue fish everywhere, and that helped a little bit. But then I saw the wonderful comments from folks like you watching. This wonderful community that has taken me in the, 5 years I've been doing YouTube to nearly 20,000 subscribers. And while that's not a lot compared to what, the greater YouTube sphere is, the fact that so many of you come to live streams and videos and leave your comments, your time is a reflection that I can't give up. Because it's not just me. More and more aquarists get into this hobby and run into problems like we do. And we have to be, in some regards, aware of that and help set the example that, even experienced aquarists make mistakes or things happen that are outside their control. 2 years ago, in the summer here in the Seattle area, in my home specifically, the outside temperature for 5 day stretch hit insanely high records, with the highest high being a day that sat at, I think, 110 for a majority of the day, but at its peak was 119 degrees outside of my home. And, while I have air conditioning in my house, it can't handle that kind of heat. It kept it livable for the rest of the house, but in one of the rooms where I keep a majority of my fish, there's a lot of glass. So there's a lot of sunlight coming in. And, it got very, very hot in there very fast. Not normal for this area. And that sudden spike in temperature caused a number of issues. After that 5 day stretch of sitting at really high heat, and my dehumidifier kicking like crazy to keep the humidity down, but everything else is still heating up the tanks more and more. See, that room is just getting so hot, which means that water is getting hotter and hotter. It caused most likely bacterial issues, but a few other things where I lost a lot of my rainbow fish in that room. A lot. I lost basically all of my Melanitania earwurs, a number of other fish species, my Chalathorina calibirus, some of my parvas. I got down to a singular parva. I lost almost all of my Etnansis. It was bad. I lost a lot of fish And I have friends that were in similar conditions where that heat wave was brutal on some of our fish rooms. And the Seattle area is not known for that kind of heat. I'm sure people in like Las Vegas or something are like, is that all? But, Seattle's not known for that. And I'm very fortunate in that I actually have AC in my home, but not a lot of houses out here do. And, there could have been far worse. At least the temperatures were kept a little bit lower than that extreme temperature, and no health issues befell me or my family. But, I think of so often you wonderful folks and how much insane by standards in other communities of positive, wonderful people are in this hobby. We're touched and we feel for other members of our hobby when they're going through hard times. We lift them up. We remind them how much this is a fish family. And for that, I will be eternally thankful. This is my weird, rambling story of how to say thank you. Because without you folks, I can't try to help others learn from my failures. When I make mistakes, I'm usually very transparent about them. Sometimes they hurt. When Danger Noodle passed away out of this tank, it was very painful. It was very painful for my lady because she had grown so attached. And we actually recently lost one of the other members of Team Thick in here. And, I'm not really sure how old those fish were when we adopted them, but it hurt. It hurt her a lot. It was hard on me because it's hard to see that. But I think about the wonderful community that I have, and it always makes me strive to keep doing more, to never give up, to learn the lesson from a failure and help others not make that mistake in the future. So with that being said, guys, never give up. Learn from your failures. Don't let them make you quit. Always strive to do better, to continuously improve, to provide the best life you can for these wonderful aquatic creatures that we all love. Even if they're Oscars, John at KG Tropicals. Even if they're Oscars. Whether you've got a noodle like this in your background flipping around and farting, you're a rainbow fish head, you're a Corydora nerd, you're a catfish psycho, you're a puffer god, whatever you may be. Thank you so much for watching. And stay awesome.